Thanks for joining us. I'm Matt Dowling with Going Live with FCTV. I'm coming to you today from Seton Hill University at the In Your Right Mind conference. Now, today we're going to be talking to authors, publishers, and others from within the industry who make words on pages come to life. In fact, this episode's going to last over the next couple weeks, a mini-series, if you will. So stay tuned and learn about some of the best and brightest new faces and some that have been around in the industry of writing.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one. I do.
Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your buy local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Talking to some authors all day, new people to Fayette TV, but we have another reoccurring guest, Jason Jack Miller. Now, last night, Jason, you had a new book that was out at the book signing.
I did.
And we got to see it for a few brief minutes before like every copy was sold.
They were gone, hotcakes, yeah.
And it's got a nice blue cover.
It does.
And Preston is back.
The
Revelations.
Black. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that project?
Well, it's a continuation of the series. It's going down to the crossroads. Robert Johnson went down to the crossroads in Mississippi, outside of Lula, Mississippi, and maybe made a deal with the devil. He died at 27, which also kind of lends a little bit of weight to the other legend. But he came back with an amazing gift to play guitar, and that was part of the rumor. So Preston goes down to have a little head-to-head with the devil himself.
So, music is an important part of this series, or at least it appears to be.
I could think it is.
You would say it is? I don't want to speak for you. I started to say, well, in Jason's books, it's really. But I figured since you're a guest, I should probably allow you to answer that question.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Well, the covers, you mentioned the cover, and the covers, I know I've said this on the show before, but they were designed by Hat Showprint in Nashville, Tennessee, and they do the poster art for the Grand Ole Opry. The artist, Brad Vedder, is striking out on his own, and he did the third cover. He has a print shop in Illinois, and so that was just part of the music thing that carries through all this. In fact, I like to think that the wood blocks that were used on my covers have been used for some amazing projects. I mean, Johnny Cash and Hank and Dolly and Wilco and Jack White, and I do believe that maybe there's some magic in those tiles. We went to Nashville last spring, and the week after we were there, Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin was there, and he was lucky enough to be able to sign the press, and I'm hoping for that level of prestige, but I think there's maybe something to that, so.
Maybe he made his own deal. We don't know.
It's the rumor. It's the rumor. I don't want to get into that. There's a lot of rumors, but that's one of them.
So, musical influences for you personally?
Well, they're wide and varied. And when I started writing Hellbender, it was the traditional Americana. It was instrumental music, bluegrass, and folk. And I think that one of the things that I liked was the drama and the tragedy, but also that they told a story. And hence the Murder Ballads and Whiskey name of the series. Pretty Polly, somebody gets murdered. Banks of the Ohio, somebody gets murdered. And that, of course, connects with the song, Somebody Got Murdered by the Clash, much later. But there's a theme there. So, 2003 it was traditional Americana, and today it's anything from Radiohead to John Lennon to Wilco to Muse, and on and on and on. It's just one of those things that my Twitter bio is music is the alpha and the omega, and writing is everything in between, and that's kind of how I have them sandwiched together.
Perfect for you.
Yeah, it is. It works well.
Wow.
So no questions there about what I'm into.
So is there, you're an artist, so maybe you can appreciate all music as art. Is there a particular genre or maybe artist that you just don't identify with as being art?
Well, that's interesting because I think the obvious answer would be to say that yeah, there's something that I can't identify with. But so far, I really have a hard time turning my nose up at anything. We moved to Florida in the 90s, and I was in the country as a way to kind of connect me to Fayette County. In high school, it was NWA, and Dre just came out with The Chronic, sandwiched with the Pearl Jam, Nirvana, grunge things. So I am fortunate to have been born in the MTV era when Run DMC would play alongside Madonna and Bruce Springsteen. Now Bruce is hard rock and Madonna is dance, and Run DMC is old school rap. But even stuff with the electronic dance music, Ellie Goulding blows my mind. She's amazing. And my Spotify playlist is schizophrenic. It's everywhere. And I know that's probably an easy way out. I don't think it is. I think, yeah, I can listen to
Although
this
I will say that Natalie Duvall was on here earlier talking about one of her favorite bands was AC/DC.
AC/DC, they're probably in my...
I thought of you.
You don't shake all night long.
No, what's funny is my brother has his triumvirate, and it includes Snoop Dogg and the Chili Peppers and AC/DC. And for me, AC/DC is one of those things that when I hear the opening peal of Thunderstruck, I just have to...
You cringe just a little bit.
Yeah. And maybe I'll get it later, but I'm not going to go out of my way to try to do it anytime soon.
So is there more for Preston?
Yeah, it's funny because I was just
coming down the road.
Yeah, it's a 5-book series, and I have to end it somehow. And I was just telling Jennifer Barnes, my editor, that somebody's going to have to die soon. I know it's going to... I don't know who it's going to be, but I have 2 more books planned for the series, and
All Saints is already pretty much...
It's pretty much done. I have another series planned for afterwards, but I can't say anything about it because it's a spoiler. There's a big reveal in the Revelations of Preston Black that people who've read the first book probably shouldn't see coming, and I'm hoping that the book was just released last week, and I've got some reviews already, and nobody's giving it away.
I was surprised that nobody has given the spoiler out.
I thought for sure that we were going to see that, but
So can we talk a little bit about publishing? I know it's not on our notes here today, but you self-published the first book of the series.
Yes, I did self-publish the first book of the series, and it was a tumultuous time in publishing. We'd been pursuing the traditional route, and
for those that don't know the traditional
route is you query an agent. And maybe years and years later, you get an agent, and then months after that, maybe the agent sells the book to a New York City publisher, one of the big 6, or maybe not. So it's a lottery to some extent. I think you can improve your odds by doing things like going to graduate school and continuing to write. But I do believe that to some extent, it's still a lottery. And with self-publishing, I felt that I controlled a little bit more of my own fate. So I released The Devil in Preston Black to a mixed reception, especially amongst some people that were really into the traditional way that didn't think it was going to work. And I'm happy to say that it did. And I think it was not so much the way that I published, but the risk-taking. I think that one of the things that artists can do is get really complacent. So the risk-taking and the ability to put myself out there was, I think, the reward that led to this beautiful relationship that I have with my publisher, Raw Dog Screaming Press. I would not have met them if I hadn't self-published, which I think seems really kind of oxymoronic, but it's the truth. I would not have met them if I hadn't taken the risk.
Do you foresee a paradigm shift in the industry?
I think it's shifted. I think that the asteroid has entered the late Cretaceous atmosphere and that there are dinosaurs that are standing there watching it, and that there are mammals scurrying for nuts and seeds. And sorry to go there, but I do. I think it's shifting. I think it's moving now as we speak. I think that artists are going to come from nowhere. I think people that have been comfortable with their deals are going to see publishing pass them by. which is exciting though.
We've already seen, just at the Penn Writers Conference recently, several New York Times bestselling authors who are also publishing books on their own because they're getting so much more of the profit that way. So it's a big hybrid. We're very much into the hybrid idea of working with a publisher and then doing some things on your own so that you maintain as much control creatively as what you possibly can over the work.
Yeah, and like I said, Raw Dog Screaming Press has been amazing because they are do-it-yourselfers. They entered publishing in the late 90s and early 2000s, which was a time that was a rebellious type of thing to do. And they bucked the system, and they've been around for 10 years. In a time when publishers are folding up left and right, there's a lot of small publishers that are folding.
What effect do you think the closure of big box bookstores has had? You know, we've seen Barnes and Noble just kind of
imploding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that's changed the industry?
Well, I think it's easy to get on a soapbox with that. I think a lot of people think that Amazon is the devil, and so far, to tie it back to the Revelations, I say better the devil you know, but we forget that Barnes & Noble pushed a lot of independent booksellers out of business.
Absolutely.
And Borders.
And Borders. So I think that, like iTunes did with music, I think that we're just going to have to rethink the idea of a $30,000 advance, and then, you know, it's going to be on an iTunes type of basis. $4 ebook versus a $3 single. I mean, I don't see that as being, you know, I know the amount of time that you put into writing a book is a lot greater, but still I see it as a similar type of commodity, and I think that authors who are willing to accept that will do really, really well.
Well, hey, Jason, best of luck to you. We're excited about the next 2 books coming out.
I am too.
If people want to get in touch with you, I know you tweet, you Facebook, you're all over the online world.
I say just Google Jason Jack Miller. And you'll find my blog, you'll find my Twitter, and there are places
arrest
to check
photos
me there.
and
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're out of time, so we're going to have to wrap it up, but we'll be right back in a few moments with more from Seton Hill's In Your Right Mind conference. So stick around.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one. I do.
Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your buy local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Day, Heidi, at Seton Hill, and I know there's still plenty more to talk to. Just a plethora of authors here, a lot of talent in this building and in these halls. But joining us is 2 of your colleagues from Raw Dog. Why don't you introduce them to our audience?
We have Deanna Lepsch over here, and she's going to be with us for some of the interviews today because this was Deanna's idea originally to come here and do all of these wonderful author interviews. She recognized how much talent came out of Seton Hill because she herself came out of Seton Hill.
Yes, I did.
Yes, she's both an alum, and she is one of the main coordinators of the In Your Right Mind conference that we have here now. Yes. And she just came from decorating for the Princess Bride Ball. So she's like, just reminded me she didn't have her lunch yet. And then over here we have Jennifer Barnes, and she is the other half of Raw Dog Screaming Press. She is an editor and co-founder of the entire publishing company, and she is also my boss and Deanna's boss. And she is an absolutely wonderful person. She, to me, has been a mentor, a female in this type of an industry that has sometimes been very male-dominated, especially with the type of genre that Raw Dog and Dogstar Books celebrates.
So Jennifer, you're a writer as well, is that correct?
I don't like to call myself a writer.
Okay.
I have done one book. It's a children's book, but I think of myself primarily as an editor.
Okay.
I did the children's book because I found an artist that I love so much that I wanted to do a book by her, and so I wrote the book around her artwork, so that was pretty easy.
And it has a great name.
It's called Better Haunted Homes and Gardens.
I love it. Yes.
So what drew you to being an editor?
My husband is an author, and I always loved reading. I've been a reader, since first grade, just reading, picking up anything and reading. So then, of course, I studied English and got a BA in English. And from there, I kind of have a dual track. I'm a graphic designer and an editor. I don't think there's a whole lot of people that do that, but I really like how publishing gives me the chance to do sort of the complete package. I do everything from the editing in the beginning to the layout of the actual physical text in the book. So, I don't know, it's what
These creative people that can do everything. I know. It's true. Yes, and speaking of which, Deanna does these incredible penguins. I wish we would have brought penguins with us. They explain how you do your penguins.
Well, I have these, I work with polymer clay, and I make penguins that do things. Penguins can do anything. So I make these penguins that I like to model them after things. So I did one, I actually did John and Jen.
I might have mine over there.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. We could maybe look for it later.
Maybe somebody, look for the penguin.
Ken, can you find us a penguin? Please?
I'm not sure. I might have put it in my bag.
No, a penguin.
A penguin, not a pet. I didn't know whether you had known about your penguin yet, and I thought I was giving something away.
No, I gave it to her right away last night at the book signing.
They look just like John and Jen, as penguins.
My penguin is sitting on a stack of books, has glasses, and is reading a book.
Yes, I thought that was
perfect. It seems pretty accurate.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
John's has a fancy frilly cravat and a quill.
And a quill.
It's what he was going to wear to the ball tonight.
Yes.
Oh.
So, you'll see. You'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
But they do everything, a little bit of everything. So my favorite one that I've made so far is Yukon Cornelius from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And he looks like Yukon Cornelius, but he's a penguin.
The penguin version.
Absolutely. Yep.
No penguins.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, we described them enough. That's all right. That's all right. Well, it's more about you than your penguin anyway. Oh, this is wonderful. I think it's interesting how you got the name for Raw Dog Screening Press, because I get asked all the time, wow, that is, one of those names that people never forget. Can you tell us how that came about?
Well, it comes from a poem that my husband wrote titled Raw Dog Screaming. And, when we were coming up with different press names, generally people choose very
mundane.
Yeah, mundane names for presses like Green Grove Press or something like that. And, we were kicking around different ideas, and I really liked the phrase, so we went with it. And I think, we've had so much varied response, but usually positive response. Like, even when we go and do events just out in the public, you can see people walking by, and our banner will be out in front. You can see their lips moving, and you can see their reaction, and it's pretty interesting sometimes.
Well, you have an awesome logo. And how did the whole logo come about?
Well, again, because I'm a graphic designer, you have to have a logo. You want to have something that people will associate with your company, and so of course I wanted a dog's head, and so that's how I came up with, that it's pretty versatile too. You can use the dog for a lot of things. So then we went with Dog Star books, and then we had dog and that. So
put a little bubble helmet on the dog.
Yes.
So that's you have.
So we sent the dog to outer space.
Yeah.
So that's not your only imprint, though, correct?
No, we do have a nonfiction imprint called Guide Dog Books. And
it's a different dog, though.
It's a dog, and he has a little monocle. He has a monocle.
So cute.
And then I don't know why for our children's book imprint we went with imaginary books. So no dogs.
No dog.
No.
I know.
You could add one.
Yeah.
It could be an imaginary dog.
It's an imaginary dog, right? It's there. You just
That's why it's
see
not
it.
there, because it's imaginary.
Right.
And
there we go. That's what you're going to start telling people.
Oh,
yeah. It's a silent song.
So we didn't get to talk to you a whole lot, Deanne, about the about your association with the Seton Hill program here. You're involved with the program, or are you an alum? Or
I'm an alum, and I also help run the In Your Right Mind workshop.
Okay. And the workshop has kind of amazed me. I got to come in last night a little bit and see all the talent that's here. Most of the people here that you've coordinated with, alum of the programs?
We actually have the largest number of non-alumni attendees this year. I couldn't quote you any numbers, but I know that it's blown everything else out of the water previous years. But the majority of our attendees are alumni, and then all of our staff, everybody that helps out, they're all alumni.
Sure. So, you know, it's great for Southwestern Pennsylvania to kind of have these literary minds come together, and for our local viewers, that might not be something that they realize is here at Seton Hill. I know it's something that surprised me, and Heidi and I we were talking earlier that it surprised her when she came here. How did you learn about the programs?
Internet.
On
yeah,
the internet?
I learned about it from the internet. I was searching for grad schools. I knew I wanted to attend a grad school, and I'd been looking at literary programs. I really didn't want to write literary fiction, and then I stumbled across the Writing Popular Fiction program, and I looked into it. I took the brochure to my professor, and he said, yeah, that looks legit. I think you should go for it. So I did, and I graduated in 2004.
Well, since I'm sitting with a group of publishers or people involved with publishing, and you guys have a 10-year history now with...
Congratulations, that is a milestone.
With Raw Dog. You know, I have to ask, what makes someone get into publishing? It's uncharted territory. It's kind of rocky waters ahead, and you've done it for 10 years. So what made you kind of jump in, and what makes you all stay
I think you have to not know what you're getting into. Like now, what I know, I probably never would have gotten into it, and then because there's so many things involved, and you see people doing things, publishing things from the outside, and there's a whole lot going on. You just don't realize how much work goes on behind the scenes, and much of it is sort of unsung. Once, I guess I'm just tenacious like that, once I start something, I'm like, well, I put all this work in now, I'm just going to keep on going. So, I don't know, I'm crazy.
That's one of the things that impressed me about you and John both, is that you like authors. And I know that seems odd to hear, but too many times you run into publishers or editors that can't see from the author's perspective. And all three of us have had experiences on both sides of the table, and I think that's what's really important.
Yeah.
So for someone who's up and coming, what's your advice as a publisher if they're looking to get published, if they're...
Right now, it's really important to just investigate all the options. It's kind of exploded in the amount of things that you can do. You can go into the small press, you can do self-publishing, you can, go try to find an agent. You really have to just find what fits for you.
Yep.
Well, we are just about out of time. We have to wrap it up. But if anyone wants more information about Raw Dog Screaming Press, one of your imprints, one of your authors, do you have a website that they can visit?
Our website
awesome website.
www.rawdogscreaming.com. And any information that's, it's a huge site.
It is.
So it can all be found there. Right. We have more authors coming up a little bit later in the day, so stick around, and we'll be right back after these messages. Okay.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one.
I do. Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your Buy Local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Yet another author joining us here. Heidi, you want to introduce John?
Edward Lawson. He is editor and co-founder of Raw Dog Screaming Press out of Washington, D.C. And they are, well, he's kind of my boss.
He is?
Yes, he is indeed, because I am...
So we best be on our best behavior.
But you know what? He is a sweetheart. He's wonderful. He's always the most positive person in the room all the time. And always the tallest as well. I mean, I know he gets tired of hearing that, but 6'8" is pretty far up there, so people tend to notice.
They do.
When you walk into a room.
So, John, do you have a current project that you're working on, something you're penning?
Yes, I do. I'm currently working on a sort of a nonfiction book, actually, based on social media. It's very important for authors and anyone doing anything where they're trying to get a message out these days. So it's titled How to Win Social Media in Just One Day.
Awesome.
So, are you a social media guru?
Oh, yes, he is. Have you ever seen his clout score?
I've not looked it up.
Well, if you compare me to a Broadway musical, I am I'm above Spider-Man, but I'm not up to the level of Les Miserables yet. So they've got about 2 points on me. So
that's good work.
That is excellent work.
Not many people that can say that.
No.
So, what made you decide to work on this project? Is there a need in the industry, or just something you're passionate about?
It is something I've become quite passionate about, and you know what started it all was there was a conference in Frostburg, Maryland, where I first met Heidi and Jason.
Oh, how funny.
And we were on a panel together about self-promo, publicity for authors, and Heidi mentioned Twitter, and that was something I was really not using. And she said, no, you have to be on Twitter. And so I started doing it. I talked to Jason, and they really schooled me on social media. I started out just at the very bottom, the lowest possible score you can have, I think 10.
Oh my goodness, and he's 77 now out of 100 on cloud.
So yeah, so that was what inspired me, and it's been I guess about 1.5 years, 2 years, and it's really sort of become a major part of my time. And I use it to help all of our authors. I'm mostly selling stuff for other people, but it's fun.
And we all appreciate it. Wonderfully, we appreciate it so much.
So what are some other works that you have you've worked on?
Well, I've had 5 poetry collections. I guess my most recent book is a poetry collection. Just came out last August, and that was a fun project. But I'm trying to focus on more. You know, I've done a lot of experimental work, and I'm trying to do something that will be read by people. something entertaining. I've gotten that out of my system.
But you've got nominated for lots of awards for all of your other work.
Yeah, I mean, I have gotten some recognition. The 2 Riesling Award nominations and the Dwarf Star Award nominations. As a finalist for the Stoker Award, which is, I guess, the biggest award you can get in the horror field.
That's the Oscars of the horror. We were talking about the Oscars of mystery earlier. So.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in more like thrillers and things like that now. You know, they're fun. I like having fun.
Yes.
I think people like.
And you can't go wrong with the thriller. I mean.
Right. Well.
Yeah.
We were talking with Jason a little bit earlier about shifts within the industry itself, and then you mentioned that you were able to do some experimental works. That's something that might not have been possible years ago, or would have been harder to get out there to people.
Right. Well, the advent of the internet. You know, I've been writing for 14 years. I used to do the thing where you had the envelopes, and you'd send them out, and you put in money for people to return your materials, and you'd wait 6 months for a rejection, or a year if it was international. And but with the internet, it sort of became like the Wild West with creativity, art, music, writing, of course. Anything you can think of, you can do it. So And there was, you know, not so much acceptance at first, but we sort of carved out a niche for ourselves.
And it's been a decade, and it's been
yes,
a great decade. Incredible.
Yes, 10 years publishing unusual material. And so now it's sort of what we're known for, and it's experimental for us to do something more mainstream.
Like the Dog Star Books line.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's about as mainstream as your line gets,
right.
Which is wonderful.
So, and Heidi has been wonderful with that. That's all.
Well, thank you.
The success is all Heidi's.
So let's talk about a little bit more about you as a person, get some insight into your persona. Okay. Do you like other mediums that tell stories, television, motion pictures, music? What really appeals to you? Or are you solely just into books?
He's also a screenwriter. So.
Oh.
Yeah. Actually, I got my start as an audio engineer. I'm a certified audio engineer. I had a little project studio, and between clients, I would work on these screenplays. And started getting so much interest from producers and directors, actors in Hollywood, that I was like, oh well, I should just pursue this instead of having a stable job. And when you're doing sort of weird stuff, you really need to have a track record, other credentials. And so I started doing the short stories to sort of establish myself, and that went so well that I ended up just doing that. I have been involved in a few feature films which didn't make it out of, didn't really start filming for one reason or another, but been doing a lot of short films lately, 2 more short films in the pipe apparently. I'll be filmed in Texas this summer, and I've been doing music on the side, about 107 songs in the last 3 years, so those are starting to filter out onto the internet. So doing a little bit of things, a little bit of everything here and there.
Do you write and perform your music, or do you write and pass it off, or?
Write and perform, yeah. I spent my time in the 90s in a band in the DC area, and we got kind of known in other countries, but never caught on here in the U.S. And
you're huge in Belgium.
No, we got interviewed in Belgium, and people in Yugoslavia when the war was going on would want us to come over there and tour, and I was like, well, you kind of have a war there, But, so yeah, but I think for me anyway, it all influences, one thing feeds into another. The music, I'm always listening to music as I write.
Sure.
So, and the writing influenced a lot of the music. A lot of the songs were based on books back in the 90s.
So maybe your musical influence, who would you say is the biggest influencer?
Oh boy. I do like a lot of classical music, but I'd have to say there's this band, Skinny Puppy from Canada. Yeah, industrial music for me, yeah. So them, that was it.
And for your writing, who would be a big influencer?
I'm really fond of Barry Gifford. He does sort of really interesting, contemporary, weird noir fiction. He wrote Wild at Heart, the whole Wild at Heart series, and there were a couple films based on that. Really fun, dark, fast-paced stuff.
So being a publisher, do you ever get to read for pleasure? And if so, what would be on your bookshelf?
On my bookshelf? Well, right now I am reading Japanese Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Ejigo Rampo.
Huh.
It's a pen name. He took his name from Poe. But
oh, interesting.
in Japanese it's Rampo. So sort of weird offbeat stuff like that.
Very interesting. So in all of your writings, do you have a favorite character?
Yes, I do. A prison gigolo named Kenrick Brimley. He's employed by the state for his services, and he's an unusual guy. He's kind of a bit of a clueless guy that I really like to sort of put through the ringer. He's fun to watch in action.
So if you were casting him in a screenplay, who would fill that part?
You can ask Heidi. I've always pictured him as, well, it's been a while. I might switch up now and go with like somebody like Channing Tatum.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah, I don't know.
So who did it used to be?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was him.
See, that's all I can picture him as now.
know,
So
right?
you completely typecast him.
Yeah.
Well, what does the future hold for you? What are your next projects down the line?
Oh, well, I have a series of fantasy books that I'm developing, actually, sort of alternate history. So those are.
Are these going to be weird, or are these going to be more mainstream?
More mainstream.
Yeah.
More mainstream. About 7 of them. So just working very heavily on the plotting, getting everything in order before I really commit to the writing.
So maybe you're not talking about it yet, but any historical event, a big historical event that...
The roasting of George Washington.
We enjoy talking about the roasting of George Washington.
That sounds, I'm going to have to work that in.
Yeah, that would be a good one. We're just about out of time, but if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to follow you on Twitter, if they want to see who's bigger than a Broadway musical, what is your Twitter name?
Well, I have a really popular name, John Edward Lawson. There's tons of them around. So I go by Bizarro Guy, 2 R's. Bizarro Guy on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere you want to look me up.
Absolutely. We'll be back in just a few moments with more authors from Seton Hill. Stick around. Thank you.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one.
I do. Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your Buy Local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Thanks for sticking around. We have joining us now Cerise Wright. And Cerise, you got to visit Uniontown and be on Going Live once in the past, so I guess our viewers there in the area will probably know or remember you. A guest that was on with Matt Betts.
Right?
Another Raw Dog author.
She's Dog Star. She and Matt are our 2 debut authors for Dog Star. So we're very excited.
Cerise, what's your current project?
Well, in 10 words or less, it was post-apocalyptic Earth. Some have tech, some don't. Mix and match, and there you have it.
See, she's all about that tech. She's all about the cyberpunk and the tech and everything. I think that's awesome. COG, we will also say, COG sold out really fast at the book signing last night. That was the first time anyone had seen it. I didn't
even see it.
I didn't either.
I didn't even see it.
The 2 editors have not seen an actual physical copy of the book yet because it just went. No, I have not. Yeah. But congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this was only the soft launch. The big launch isn't until DogCon 2 in Columbus in August.
At Thurber House.
Yes, at Thurber House.
You better make sure you have extra copies of that book.
Yeah, exactly.
better order some more if they're selling out so quickly.
There were a couple of people I didn't even see or get to touch their books, anything. Yeah, it was great.
Well, you saw how massive that signing
Sure,
was.
absolutely.
And next year, I think we're going to take over the other half of the gym.
Wow.
It might happen. It might happen.
It very well could.
Natalie will go crazy.
So, Cerise, why don't we talk a little bit about COG? And, I don't know if we got to when you were on the show before, but talk about who your favorite character is.
My favorite character was Thea Wayans, who was the government agent, and she's this badass agent who has to get her man, and she had an affair with the man she wants to get. So it's like a revenge type of thing. It really, galls her, so she puts extra effort into carrying out her mission.
Yeah, she is a pretty incredible character.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did you pull some inspiration from different places, or one person, or
Oh no,
her
I'm
character?
always reading. I'm always always getting information, so it just sort of gels as I'm writing, and I can't, point to one source.
All these composites.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Who are some influences on your writing? Were you, as a child, a fan of books?
Yes, science fiction book was my first favorite book, The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet. I love that book. It has cocoa stains on the pages.
Oh, wow.
And but I didn't read William Gibson or Cyberpunk until I was older, because I hadn't heard of it. I heard it was weird, so I sort of steered away from it because I listened to mysteries at the time.
How funny. I would have never guessed mysteries.
But then I read it and I was like, oh wow, this is fantastic. So it was William Gibson, Richard K. Morgan, Pat Cadigan, Louis Rucker, Louis Shiner, Bruce Sterling, all of them.
So what about other forms of storytelling? We've been talking to our authors today about musical influences, motion pictures, television. Are you purely a bookworm, or do you enjoy those other storytelling methods?
I enjoy movies. Blade Runner is my favorite movie. It's like first cyberpunk movie, I believe. In fact, William Gibson saw the movie and was kind of sad because he thought that Ridley Scott had captured his world before he had even finished the book.
Interesting.
I hate it when that happens.
But I like to write online as well. Sort of interactive role play. It helps me develop characters and plot lines.
Yeah, I can see where that would work.
So you engage with your readers?
Mostly other writers, but there's some people who just read as well. But they're usually guests and lurkers, and you never know.
They're just reading everything that everyone else is writing.
So what do you do besides writing? What are some other skills or talents or hobbies that you have?
I can edit as well as write. I edit for my job. I'm a writer-editor for a management consulting firm.
Okay.
And other people ask me to look at their books and manuscripts, so I can do that as well.
And you can cook. You can
cook
like nobody's
business.
business.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
I cooked some turkey and greens and macaroni and cheese for the first dog con.
I still taste that macaroni and cheese.
On stuffing.
Yeah, the stuffing, yeah. That's right, she came in and the rest of us were putting together like Rice Krispies. And then here comes Cerise and she's like, get out of my kitchen.
So,
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, yes.
Of course we enjoyed it.
In your current book, in COG, what was the most difficult scene for you to write?
I would probably have to say when Nicole confronted her father, when she found out that he had been having an affair, and she had a half-brother that she didn't even know about until he tries to kill her. And sort of, because she adores
That's not a
her
dysfunctional
father.
family at all.
No, not at all.
She adores her father, so it's like this realization and change in her outlook toward her father that she has to deal with.
What made it so difficult to write? Just the complexity of the scene itself, or?
I think all girls, want to adore their father, and when you find out something about them that's kind of dark or twisted, it sort of changes you, how you look at them and how you look at other people.
Right.
So if you had to cast someone to be any of the characters in COG, or a few of the characters in COG, do you have ideas on who they would be?
Let's see. I think Kerry Washington would make a good Nicole. And
Who do you want for Thea? That's what I want to know.
Angela Bassett.
Oh, yes.
She's a great actress.
Yes, that would work really well.
And her father could be Morgan Freeman.
There you go.
I will go see any movie with Morgan Freeman.
See, he'll go see your movie
there you go.
already. Yes.
I'll listen to anything with Morgan Freeman.
There you, absolutely.
Yeah. Commercials.
Yeah, commercials.
So Cerise, we just have about a minute left. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the process that you use when you sit down to write? How do you plan out a project you're working on?
Well, I'm a pantser, so there's no real set process that I use. I usually have an idea and I try to, in fact, I was sort of forced to pitch a story and I had nothing, so I just started writing. And it's funny, when you're typing, it doesn't come as freely as when you write it out
I
by
agree.
hand.
Handwriting still.
So I would recommend that. I just came from a module plotting for pantsers, and they laid out everything very technically, but she said, I'm a pantser too, so you can take individual index cards and you can move them and match them and highlight. So you could visually see, you know, is there too much pink here for your heroine? Do I need more blue for my hero? And you can.
Who did that workshop?
It was
Joe.
Joe.
Joe Crozier.
Yeah, it was very good. I was in it as well.
Sounds like a great way to plan it out and be able to visually look at it.
Are you going to use it?
I am.
I am too.
I have not used it.
I'm a big outliner, so.
You're good. You're good.
So you're set. Well, hey, Cerise, thanks for being with us again. If someone wants to find out more about you or your projects, your books, are you on Twitter or Facebook, I believe?
I'm on Twitter at KCeriseWright, and I'm also on the web at www.kceriseWright.com.
Okay, well, hey, great to have you again and to visit us. And if you will stick around, we'll be back with more interviews from Seton Hill University in just a few moments. Thanks for joining us once again from Seton Hill University. We have joining us right now Lawrence C. Connolly and W.H. Horner. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, and I hope you're enjoying the conference.
Right, they're also they're both mentors in the regular MFA program here at Seton Hill, and they have a special relationship because W.H. Horner is the owner and founder of Fantasist Enterprises publishing company, and Lawrence C. Connolly is his star author.
So what genre do you practice, Lawrence?
I've written all of the speculative genres. I've written horror, I've written fantasy, I've written science fiction. The books that I've been working on with Will have been in horror. Last year we had a book called Voices, which was nominated for the Bram Stoker Award, and that was a collection of horror. And the books, the novels that we've been doing have been in the category of supernatural thriller, or possibly characterized as urban fantasy. These are contemporary fantasy novels set in the real world, but with fantastic elements added.
Now, have you always, well, I guess what I should ask is, what genre have you always been a fan of? Growing up, did you read? Did you
I did read growing up.
Like a certain type of book?
You know, I've been thinking about this, and I think what got me was Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, you know, because they always blended. They blended the fantasy and science fiction and horror.
Sure.
And so when I started writing, I was thinking about those television shows, so much so that when we worked on our anthology, or we worked on our collections, Voices and Visions, each one of those books starts off with a voice speaking to the reader in the second person, kind of the way Rod Serling did in The Twilight Zone, or the control voice did in Outer Limits.
The cover of Visions even has a television right on the front. It's
little reminiscent.
Much, yeah.
Sure.
So it starts off, which one is it? Voices or Visions starts off, you are not reading these words. This page is a manifestation. So kind of using or channeling that voice from my childhood. Now, I didn't realize I was doing that. This was later when people were asking me about you know, sources of inspiration, that I gradually began to realize that that was it.
And of course, Larry has this incredible speaking voice, and I have heard him read these out loud at various events because he's a Pittsburgh writer. And anytime then that you read something by Lawrence Connolly after you have met him, it is his voice.
You hear his voice as you're reading it?
Absolutely.
Have you had the opportunity to do any audiobooks from your writings?
I have some audio on my website. There is a CD that Will and I did together of music that I composed based on the Vein cycle, and that book, or that CD, also contains some stories put to music. And then Will and I were just in New York. I just did the KGB reading series in New York and had an opportunity to perform the stories there. So any opportunity I get to either record them or perform them, I'm there.
And other people have actually performed his work as well. He's had short films made out of short stories, and we have viewed them here at Seton Hill, which has been awesome.
Sure. Who have you worked with the short films?
I have, with the short films, I've worked with a director named Rodney Altman. He's in LA right now, and currently I'm working on working with a young filmmaker in New York. His name is Nicholas Schwartz. He's terrific. But over the years, I've also had films optioned by the major studios. And the word is, I mean, writers will tell you this, that maybe the best case scenario is to have a story or a novel option and it's never produced, because you get the money, you get the ego boost, but you never get disappointed. Well, I've never been disappointed.
I would really like to see what HBO might do with the Vane Cycle miniseries. That would be lots of fun.
Yeah, especially with so much of that particular genre that has been out there recently, and I can see where it really fit in with Fantasys Enterprises, because Will has always done this interesting blend of a darker fiction, especially with fantasy and so forth. So,
Will, what brought you to publishing?
Well, I started as a writer, but then I thought, you know what, I want to learn more about the craft. I'm interested in publishing. So why don't I try to start my own company and see what happens. I'll start working with authors, and in that process I discovered that I really love helping writers tell better stories. Somehow I have a knack for this, so I just kept doing it and kept building it, and I just really love doing that.
Which is why he's also a good mentor in the MFA program.
It's always good to see when publishers interact well with writers. And
absolutely. And you find that, especially on a smaller press level, I think you find that exceptionally. They work hand in hand. It's very much the creative partnership.
Definitely. And Larry and I are a really good match as far as level of revision and all that kind of stuff as well.
So Larry, what is coming up next in your...
What's coming up next is the third book in the Vane Cycle. It's called Vortex. All these books are set in western Pennsylvania. And Vortex is going to bring the entire cycle to a close. This is not going to be an open-ended series of books. When I first started working on them, I was thinking that these are going to take place in a single 24-hour period. And we're going to have a really clever way to wrap it up when we hit the last couple of chapters. Just wait, man. I'm telling you what I've got for you in Vortex. You'll want to go back and read the first book again.
Wow.
It'll take you right back to it, I hope.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
When do you expect for that to...
I hear that it's coming out. I hear it's coming out this year. Will and I had an opportunity to meet with the artist who is doing the cover and the illustration. All of Will's books are illustrated, which is the greatest thing about it. And I've had the opportunity to work with some terrific illustrators on these books. But Rhonda Libby is going to be illustrating this next book, and it should be out, I would imagine, November.
Yeah, we're shooting for November, possibly December, we'll see.
That's the difference there between the editor and the author. The author's like, well, why not right now?
Let's do it now.
So, with a book that's illustrated like the books that you put out, how does that change, or does it change at all for an ebook format?
We just signed a contract on the ebooks, and
working on the ebooks, it does complicate things a little bit. You have to worry about file size and all those kinds of things, but we'll make it work. We still want to have a professional, nice, beautiful product, even in ebook.
Sure. Especially if those illustrations become key to telling your story.
That's right, and they are. That's the nice thing about this, because Will always hooks the illustrator up with me, and the product, I think, represents the story as it should be.
That's great. That gives us something as readers to kind of have in mind while we're experiencing your work.
Right.
Well, I want to thank you guys for being with us. We're getting the Wrap It Up sign, so we have to go to a promo break, but we'll be back after some brief messages with more authors from Seton Hill University.
Do you have a buy local card?
Yes, I have one.
I do. Yeah, I have one. I use mine every day.
Where's your buy local card?
Use your Buy Local card to save money at restaurants, grocery stores, retail shops, tourist attractions, and service providers. Cards can be purchased online at www.buylocalfayette.org or by calling 724-437-7913.
Savor the flavor of Fayette. Buy local.
A few years ago, I was at a dead end, underemployed, with no idea of where my life was headed. Then I enrolled at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology's School of Healthcare Careers and discovered a great career and great life was only months away. Now, I've started the career of my dreams, and the future couldn't be brighter.
The School of Healthcare Careers at the Pennsylvania Institute of Health and Technology offers career-focused, hands-on training for these in-demand fields. Call 724-437-4600 or visit piht.edu for information.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this installment of interviews. There's a lot going on at the conference and so many people that we couldn't get them into just 1 hour. So I'd encourage you to try back next Friday, where we'll have even more authors, publishers, and influential people within the writing industry coming at you from Seton Hill University. I'm Matt Dowling with Going Live for FCTV. For David, Ken, Christopher, the whole crew, and myself, have a great evening.